The alarm buzzed at 8:30 p.m., the same sound that marked the start of my nights. I dragged myself up, bones aching, eyes half shut. The smell of lavender shampoo still lingered on the pillow beside me. "Mia," whispered, brushing my hand over the empty side of the bed. "You home?" Her voice came faintly from the kitchen. "Yeah, just finished dinner." I stumbled in, adjusting my uniform shirt. "You could have waited for me." She gave a soft smile, one that used to melt me. "You always eat at work anyway." "Still," I said, sitting at the counter, "it's different when we eat together." She shrugged, wiping her hands on a towel. "You get home when the sun's up, Ethan?" "I'm half dead by then." "We live opposite lives." Her words stung. I laughed it off. "Guess that's what love looks like, two zombies trying to make it work." She smiled again, but it didn't reach her eyes. Later, as I tied my boots, she leaned against the doorframe. "You don't have to work every night, you know. We're fine." "I know," I said, tightening the laces. "But I want to make sure we stay fine. The house, the bills, your classes. Someone's got to keep the lights on," she sighed. "I didn't marry a superhero, Ethan. I married you." I looked up, smiling, "And you got both." That earned me a small laugh, the sound I'd fallen in love with years ago at the factory. The air smelled like oil and steel. Machines roared. Tom, my coworker, tossed me a coffee as I clocked in. "Late again, hero." He said. "Night got away from me," I replied. He smirked. "You sure it's not the wife keeping you up?" I chuckled. "I wish. She's usually asleep by the time I get home." Tom leaned closer, voice teasing. "Man, you're married to this job. One day she's gonna forget what you look like." "Don't jinx me," I said, forcing a grin. He laughed, turning back to his machine. "Hey, I'm just saying. Work can build a house, but it can't keep it warm." His words stuck with me through the night. When I got home at sunrise, the house was silent. The front door creaked softly. Mia was asleep, curled on her side, her hair scattered across my pillow. I sat at the edge of the bed, watching her breathe. For a moment, everything felt right again. "Morning, love," I whispered. She stirred, half awake. "Hey, you're back already?" "Yeah," I said softly. "Just wanted to see your face before I crash." She smiled drowsily. "You're sweet," brushed her hair back. "You know why I work so much, right?" Her eyes opened slightly. "Because you're stubborn?" I laughed quietly. "Because I want to give us the life we dreamed of, the one we promised each other." She reached for my hand, fingers cold. "You already did, Ethan. You don't have to prove anything." I kissed her forehead. "I'm not proving anything. I'm protecting it." The next evening, as I got ready again, Mia sat scrolling on her phone. "You've been quiet lately," I said, fastening my belt. "Everything okay?" She looked up, startled. "Yeah, just tired. That's all. Men." She smiled thinly. "Don't worry about me. Go earn your superhero points?" I tried to joke back. "You'll thank me when I buy you that new car you've been hinting about." She didn't laugh. Just turned back to her phone. Something about the silence between us felt heavier than the sound of machines at work. At lunch break, Tom sat beside me, chewing a sandwich. "You look like hell, man." "Thanks," I muttered. "Everything okay at home?" "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired." He raised an eyebrow. "Funny, that's what my ex used to say before she left me." Forced to laugh. "Don't start, Tom." He shrugged. "I'm serious. Don't ignore the little stuff. Silence kills faster than words." His advice sank deeper than I wanted it to. When I returned home at dawn, the house felt colder. The lights were off, but I could smell her perfume lingering faintly in the air floral. Familiar, fading. I dropped my bag and walked quietly to the bedroom. She was asleep, breathing softly. I sat beside her again, tracing the outline of her wedding ring in the dim light. It glimmered faintly under the first rays of sunrise. "Everything I do," I whispered, "I do for you." She stirred, turning over, but didn't wake. I held her hand anyway. Just for a while, pretending that love alone could keep everything from falling apart the first time I noticed it. I thought I was imagining things. Mia's perfume, jasmine, and something sweet. hung in the hallway when she swore she hadn't gone out. "Did you spray this tonight?" I asked, sniffing the air. She glanced up from her laptop. "What? The perfume? The one you wear when we go out." Her eyes flicked to the counter, then back to me. "I sprayed it earlier. Just wanted to feel fresh at 10 p.m. I teased. She smiled, tight. "Can't I smell good in my own house?" I laughed it off. "Of course. I just thought it was weird, that's all, Ethan," she said. Voice soft but sharp. "Please don't start." "Start what?" "Questioning every little thing I do. You're tired, okay? Go to work." I nodded, pretending her tone didn't sting. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was just tired at work. The factory's hum drowned out my thoughts. Still, Tom noticed. "You're quieter than usual," he said, nudging me with an elbow. "Everything good?" "Yeah," I lied. "Just thinking." "Dangerous hobby," he grinned. "Thinking." I smirked, but my chest felt heavy. He sipped his coffee. "Hey, saw your cousin Ryan the other day? Said he's been hanging at your place?" I looked up Ryan. "Yeah, he mentioned something about fixing a faucet." Tom chuckled. "Didn't know plumbing ran in the family?" I forced a laugh. "He's just helping out." Mia said the kitchen sink was dripping again. Tom shrugged. "Cool, he's around a lot though, huh?" "Yeah, I guess. You trust him?" "Of course," I said quickly. "Too quickly?" Tom raised his hands. "Didn't mean anything by it. Just weird seeing him more than you." I laughed again, louder than necessary, trying to bury the discomfort clawing at my gut. "You watch too many dramas, man," he grinned. "Maybe just don't let the side characters steal the show." That night, I couldn't focus. The machines blurred into noise. My hands moved automatically, but my head wasn't there. Every time my phone buzzed, I snatched it up, expecting something, anything from her. "Mia, going to bed early." "Mia, long day, night." 2 short messages. No heart emojis. No love you. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the keyboard. "Good night, beautiful," I typed, then deleted it. It felt empty by the time my shift ended. My stomach was in knots. When I pulled into our street, dawn had barely touched the sky. I killed the engine and sat there, listening to the tick of the cooling car. Then I saw it, a shape I knew too well. Ryan's car. Parked outside my house. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Why is he here at 6 in the morning? My mind scrambled for reasons. Maybe the faucet again. Maybe he crashed on the couch after helping her with something. Maybe I was losing it. I got out, the cold biting my hands. The house was dim, but there was light leaking through the curtains, soft, golden, moving. I took 1 step closer, then stopped. Through the glass I could see shadows. 2 figures, one passing, one standing still. I couldn't tell who was who. My heart pounded so loud it felt like the whole street could hear. "Go in." I whispered to myself. "Just go in." But I didn't. I froze, watching from the edge of my own driveway like a stranger. My brain screamed, "You're being paranoid." My gut whispered, "You already know." The wind cut through my jacket, but I stayed there, staring at the faint flicker of movement inside the house I'd built, the house that smelled like her perfume. I reached for my keys, but my hands were shaking too much to grip them. If I walk in now, what if I'm right? The thought hollowed me, so I did nothing. I stood there until the light in the kitchen went off, until the house fell dark again, until the world felt still enough for me to lie to myself. When I finally entered, everything looked normal. Her shoes by the door, the faint hum of the fridge, a mug on the counter, 2 lipstick smudges on the rim. "Mia?" I called softly, no answer. The bedroom door was closed. I stood there, hand on the knob, heart in my throat. Then I dropped it. She deserved her sleep, I told myself. She was tired. Always tired. I walked to the couch, sat down, and stared at the wall until my eyes burned. Maybe Tom was wrong. Maybe I was just imagining everything. Love does that. It makes you blind to what's right in front of you. The smell of her perfume lingered still. When she woke later that morning, she found me half asleep on the couch. "You didn't come to bed?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. Nah, I said, forcing a yawn. Didn't want to wake you? She smiled faintly. You're sweet. Her hair was damp, freshly washed. Her phone buzzed once on the table before she snatched it up. Ryan text you? I asked casually. She froze a second too long. He just asked if the sink's still leaking. Still leaking? I repeated. Yeah. Her voice softened. You trust me, right? I looked at her, at the woman I built my world around, and smiled through the ache in my chest. Of course, I said, and I almost believed it. I woke before my alarm, heart already racing. Today I thought, I'll surprise her. Make breakfast. Something simple, eggs, toast, coffee butt. Something made with my hands. Something to remind us what we were. Today's the day, I muttered to myself, tying my apron over my uniform. Just a little love on a plate. The apartment was silent. Mia must have been asleep like always. I moved carefully, humming under my breath. I cracked eggs into a pan, the sizzle calming me. This'll make her smile, I whispered, halfway through. I checked the clock. 5:30. Plenty of time before she woke. I smiled. I carried the tray to the bedroom door, holding it like a sacred offering. Mia, I called softly. Breakfast. For you. Then I heard it. Laughter, soft, deep, faint but unmistakable. My chest stopped. My hand froze on the doorknob. That's not her. I pushed the door open slowly, just enough to peek, and then the world ended. Sheets were tangled around two figures. Her voice cut off mid-laugh. Ryan stared at me, half naked, eyes wide. Mia scrambled, hands over her chest. Ethan, I can explain. I stepped back, but my legs felt like lead. My mouth opened, closed, opened again. Nothing came out, Ryan muttered. It's not what it looks like. I didn't even think. My fist moved on its own. Crack. My knuckles slammed into him, sending him sprawling onto the bed. Ethan, please. Mia sobbed. Her voice was panicked, trembling. It happened. I didn't speak. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just existed, standing in the doorway, feeling my heart splintering. Just happened? I asked finally, voice low. Just happened? You call this love? You call this us? She dropped to her knees, sobs racking her body. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I don't. Just don't. My voice cracked, sharper than I meant. I gave you everything. Everything. And you I swallowed hard. You, Ryan groaned, trying to get up. Ethan, calm down. I struck again. My body moved without thought. Rage, heartbreak, disbelief, betrayal all fused into one punch. He collapsed onto the sheets, groaning. Mia crawled toward me, hands outstretched. Ethan, please, listen. I shook my head violently. No, I don't want to listen. I don't care to hear any explanation. Not from either of you. Her tears streaked down her face, mascara running like ink. It wasn't about you. I swear. I don't know what came over me. I was lonely. I cut her off. You were lonely? You had me. Every night, every morning. I worked nights so you could sleep, so you'd have peace. You didn't see me. You didn't care. And you let him in. Ryan groaned again, holding his side. Look, man, I didn't force her. I shut up. I snapped, voice echoing in the bedroom. I grabbed my jacket from the chair, not looking at them anymore. My hands shook, my throat burned. The apartment felt smaller, colder. The light through the window seemed harsh, exposing every betrayal in stark white. Ethan, please. Mia sobbed behind me. Don't go. We can fix this. I love you. I turned slightly, my eyes meeting hers one last time. They were wet, pleading, broken, but not the kind of broken I could heal. I loved you, I whispered, voice low, trembling. I loved the life I thought we had. That's gone now. The air outside hit me as I stepped into the morning. Cold, crisp, cleansing in a way I didn't want. My chest ached with every heartbeat. My stomach felt hollow, and yet I felt numb. Everything I worked for gone. I muttered, my voice barely audible over the quiet street. The city was waking up. People walked past, oblivious. Cars honked. Dogs barked. Life continued, indifferent to my heartbreak. I pressed my back against the doorframe, staring at the our apartment where betrayal had a voice, and it had shouted my name. I could still hear Mia's sobs echoing in my ears. I could still see Ryan's half-naked, guilty expression. I wanted to scream. I wanted to collapse. But I couldn't. I just walked. Away from the bedroom, away from the apartment, away from the life I had built. The sunlight hit my face as I turned the corner. My knees felt weak. My fists clenched. I whispered to the wind, barely audible, everything I worked for gone. And for the first time, I realized something terrifying and true. I didn't know if I'd ever get it back. The apartment was small, cold, and smelled faintly of dust. It didn't matter. It was mine. My new beginning, or maybe just the ruins of what was left. Boxes sat unopened. Plates, clothes, memories. I didn't touch them. I couldn't. Most nights I sat on the floor staring at my phone. Old photos, messages, videos, proof that once I'd been loved. Or thought I was. "Ethan, eat something," my mother said one evening, her voice trembling as she placed a plastic container on the counter. "You're wasting away." "I'm fine, Mom," I muttered, staring at the blank TV screen. She looked at me like I was vanishing right in front of her. "You're not fine. You barely talk. You barely sleep. You look empty." "I'm trying," I said softly. "I just need time." Her eyes glistened. "She doesn't deserve your tears, son. You gave her everything." I swallowed hard. "Yeah, and she gave it to someone else." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away gently. "Please, Mom, just don't." She hesitated, nodded slowly, then whispered, "I'll come by again tomorrow." Before leaving quietly, the silence after she left felt heavier than her words. The next day, Tom showed up unannounced, knocking hard enough to rattle the door. When I opened it, he shoved his hands in his jacket pockets. "You look like hell, man." "Thanks," I said flatly, stepping aside. He walked in, scanning the empty apartment. "You're really living like this?" "Guess so." He turned to me, his jaw tight. "I should beat the crap out of Ryan, that smug bastard. He deserves it." "No," I said quickly. "Leave it. Leave it." His voice rose. "He slept with your wife?" "Your cousin. And you want me to just—" "I don't want revenge, Tom," I interrupted. "I just want to understand why." Tom stared at me like I'd grown another head. "Understand? There's nothing to understand. They're garbage, both of them." I sighed. "Maybe, but hating them won't fix me." He exhaled, pacing. "You're too good? You know that? Too damn good for this world." "Maybe that's the problem," I said quietly. He stopped, softened a little. "You sure you're going to be okay?" "I don't know," I admitted. He clapped my shoulder. "Call me if you change your mind. I'll handle Ryan myself." When he left, I stared at the door long after it closed. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted silence. That night, my phone buzzed. "Mia, I made a mistake. Please, can we talk?" "Mia, I hate myself for what I did." "Mia, you meant everything to me." I stared at the messages until they blurred. Then I hit delete. One by one. "I don't want to hear it," I whispered to the empty room. "Not anymore." Days blurred together. Work, sleep, repeat. I didn't eat much. Didn't talk much. I just moved through life like a ghost. It was Laura who noticed. She worked 2 rows over on the night shift. We'd spoken maybe twice before. One night she stopped by my station, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You look like you could use one of these," she said softly. I looked up, blinking. "That obvious?" She smiled faintly. "You've got that I haven't slept in days and I don't care anymore face." Sounds accurate, I said, forcing a small smile. She handed me the cup. No sugar. Just the way you take it, right? I frowned slightly. How'd you know that? I pay attention, she said, leaning against the table. You don't talk much, but you listen. People like that are easy to read. Sipped the coffee. It was warm, grounding. Thanks, I said quietly. Most people just avoid me. Maybe they're scared of saying the wrong thing, she replied. But I'm not most people. That made me look at her properly for the first time. Tired eyes, but kind. No judgment there. Just patience. You look like you need someone to listen, she said. I don't even know what to say, I admitted. Then don't, she said simply. Just sit, drink, exist for a while. So I did. We sat in silence, the hum of the machines filling the air. For once, silence didn't feel heavy. It felt healing. Rough week? She asked eventually. Rough life, I replied, and she chuckled softly. Well, she said, standing, if you ever want to talk about it, Tor, not talk about it time around. I nodded slowly. Thanks, Laura. When she walked away, I stared at the cup in my hand, the faint warmth seeping into my palms. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel completely invisible. Maybe healing didn't start with forgiveness. Maybe it started with being seen. I woke before dawn, the streetlights still glowing, casting long shadows across the pavement. My legs burned, my lungs gasped, but I kept running. Each step was a protest against the heaviness that had clung to me for weeks. You're up early, Laura's voice said one morning as she sipped her coffee when I returned sweaty and out of breath. Yeah, I muttered, wiping my face. Can't sleep anymore. Hey, she tilted her head, smiling softly. Maybe it's good. You're moving forward, even if it's just a little. I don't know if it's moving forward, I admitted, or just running from everything. She laughed lightly. Sometimes moving forward feels a lot like running in circles. Great. So I'm dizzy and tired. Better than broken, she said simply. Better than sitting alone, letting everything eat at you. I stared at her. Her eyes were calm, steady. I guess breakfast became my new ritual. Eggs, fruit, toast. I even remembered coffee with cream and sugar, small luxuries I'd ignored while heartbroken. You're smiling. Laura noticed one day, smiling. I frowned. Maybe I'm just squinting. No, she said. It's real. Don't hide it. Not from me. I shrugged, feeling a warmth I hadn't felt in weeks. Not happiness. Not entirely. But alive at work whispers floated. Did you hear about Ryan? What about him? I asked casually, pretending not to care. Lost his job. Some mess with his boss, I think. I raised my eyebrows but said nothing. And Mia, another coworker, muttered. People say she's avoiding everyone. Friends aren't talking to her. I nodded slightly, letting the words sink. Karma, maybe. But I didn't feel glee, just calm. Oddly calm. Laura and I stayed late one night, cleaning up after our shift. Machines hummed, casting shadows across the floor. You know, she began, stretching her arms. Sometimes the worst things happen so we can meet the right people. I paused, staring at the floor. Right people? Yeah, she said softly. The people who see you, who matter. Not the ones who betray you or leave you behind. Well, I didn't answer. I just nodded, unsure if I believed her. Deep down, though, a small part of me wanted to. Wanted to think maybe she was right. Ethan, she said after a moment, don't forget to breathe. Life's short. Don't waste it staring at what's gone. I try, I whispered. Running became easier. I didn't notice the distance at first, but one morning I realized I had gone farther than ever before. My legs were strong, my lungs steady. I was starting to reclaim something I thought lost. At home, I cooked simple meals with care. I ate at the table, not in front of a screen. Sometimes I even hummed. Quietly, to myself, rumors continued to trickle in. Ryan, unemployed. Mia, shunned. I didn't seek out the news, didn't ask for it. It found me naturally, like leaves falling into my lap. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile maliciously. I just let it be. It was a natural balance, a quiet justice that needed no celebration. One evening, Laura stopped by with a cup of tea. "For you," she said, handing it over. "Thought you might like a warm drink after your run?" "Thanks," I said, taking it. The warmth seeped into my hands, and for a moment I felt comforted. We sat on the small balcony outside my apartment. City lights glittered like distant stars. "You're changing," she said, voice soft. "I can see it. Not just the routines, but you, me." I asked. "You," she repeated. "Stronger, calmer, more alive." I laughed lightly. "I don't feel strong. You look it," she said. "And you're alive. That counts for something." I nodded. Words failed me. Silence hung between us, warm and unthreatening. Later that night, I opened my journal. Pen in hand, I stared at the blank page for a long time. Then I wrote, "I lost everything. But maybe that's how I'll find myself." I didn't feel triumphant. Not yet. But I felt lighter. A little stronger. A little braver. I closed the journal, laying it on the table beside me. The room was quiet save for the faint hum of the refrigerator. The street outside was peaceful. The world, it seemed, was moving on. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to chase it. I just existed. A small smile crept across my face. Not full happiness. Not yet. But something like hope. For the first time in weeks. I slept that night without a single nightmare. I was wiping down the counter, stacking boxes and supplies, when I heard the soft shuffle of shoes behind me. "Mia?" My voice cracked before I could stop it. She stood there, messy hair falling over swollen eyes, tears streaked down her face. Her hands trembled as she held onto her coat. "Ethan I Ryan left me," she whispered, voice breaking. I didn't step forward. I didn't say anything. I just watched. I made a mistake," she continued, her knees wobbling slightly. I was stupid, and please can you forgive me?" I didn't answer. I just kept arranging the boxes, pretending my hands were busy, though my heart pounded in my chest. "I know I hurt you," she said, voice raw. "I ruined everything. I don't know how to fix it. I need you to know that I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Ethan." I finally set the last box down, slowly turning to face her. Her eyes searched mine, desperate, pleading. Do you still love me?" she asked, the words trembling, barely audible. I looked at her carefully. My chest tightened, memories flashing, our early days whispered promises, late-night laughter. And then I saw what she had done. What she had destroyed? "I loved the woman I thought you were," I said quietly, deliberately. My voice didn't waver, though my hands curled into fists at my sides. Her knees gave way, and she sank to the floor, crying openly now, the tears soaking into the tile. "Ethan, please," I didn't move closer. I didn't speak. I simply turned and walked out. My footsteps echoing in the empty hall. The cold night air hit me as I stepped outside, and I felt a strange steadiness I hadn't known in months. Trembling, yes, but not from pain. From strength. A kind of calm I hadn't thought possible. I walked down the street, silent, letting the city hum around me. The streetlights glimmered off puddles from earlier rain, reflecting a distorted world I no longer belonged to. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see her kneeling there, broken. She had her lessons to learn, just as I had mine. Later at work, Laura noticed I'd come in unusually late. She poured coffee for me without asking. "Rough evening?" she asked gently. I nodded. "You could say that," she didn't press. She never did. She handed me the cup, waiting patiently. I sat down, staring at the steam curling above the coffee. She came, I muttered quietly. Mia, swollen eyes, crying, begging. The Ra tilted her head, listening without comment. Her quiet presence was a comfort, almost an anchor, I told her. I continued. I loved the woman I thought she was. And then I left. Just walked away. She sipped her coffee, eyes meeting mine. Good. You did what you had to do. You didn't let her pull you back into something that was already gone. I exhaled slowly. It's weird. I don't feel sad. Not really. I feel steady. Like the storm finally passed and I can see again.
Us?
Laura smiled softly. Sometimes you need the storm to clear the view. You've been carrying a lot. I know, I said, feeling a small weight lift. It's a relief, I guess. Not the kind you'd expect. Not joy, exactly. But peace. She nodded, leaning back slightly. Peace is underrated. Most people chase happiness and miss it. I'm not sure I'd call this happiness, I admitted, but it feels right. In a way, I didn't think I'd ever feel again. She didn't say anything, just offered a quiet smile. A presence. Not a solution, but enough. We stayed late, talking quietly while finishing our shift. Machines hummed in the background, casting soft shadows. Do you ever think about second chances? I asked her, voice low. Laura shrugged. Depends on the person. Some deserve them, some don't. Sometimes you give yourself the chance, not the other person. I nodded, absorbing the thought. She didn't push me to talk about Mia. Didn't ask for my feelings. She just let me exist, and for the first time in weeks, I felt seen, not broken, not defined by betrayal. It's just me. I think I needed this, I said quietly. A moment that isn't full of hurt. A moment to breathe. Laura's eyes softened. Then take it. You earned it. I held my coffee, warmth seeping into my palms. It was a small comfort, but it grounded me. Anchored me in the present. The night passed quietly. When I finally returned home, I sat on the edge of my bed. Journal in hand. I don't need her apology, I wrote slowly, carefully. I need myself. I've spent so long lost waiting for her, for answers, for things that don't exist anymore. Tonight, I feel peace. Quiet. Steady. And for once, it's enough. I closed the journal, letting the words settle. The house was silent. Still. My heartbeat was steady. My mind, for the first time in months, was quiet. Somewhere, far away, Mia was learning her own lessons. Ryan, too. Their paths no longer my concern. I was here. I was alive. I was finally free. My phone buzzed late one night, jolting me from half sleep. The screen flashed Ryan's name. I hesitated, thumb hovering over the answer button. Something in me knew what this call would bring, and yet I answered. Ethan? His voice slurred, heavy with alcohol. It's me. Ryan, I said flatly. Man, my life's a mess, ruined. Everything's wrong. I stayed silent, listening. I miss when we were brothers, you know? His words trembled, thick with regret. We had it all, man. I screwed it up. I gritted my teeth, fighting the urge to shout, to let anger explode. But it didn't come. Not now. Not anymore. Yeah, I said quietly. I remember. Ethan, please can we, Ryan? I interrupted softly. I think you already know there's nothing left to fix. A long pause. Then a sigh. Yeah, I guess I should go, I said, and ended the call. The phone dropped to my lap. Silence filled the room. I felt nothing. Not anger. Not betrayal. Not sadness. Just closure. For the first time, the weight pressing on my chest wasn't pain. It was freedom. Later, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Mia. I'm moving out of town, her message read. I stared at it, thumb hovering over the keyboard. I wish you peace, I typed finally, and hit send. No games. No resentment. Just a quiet sincerity. A small smile touched my lips. Not joy, not relief. Just a gentle calm. I set the phone down, looking out the window at the city lights. Life went on. People moved, choices unfolded, consequences arrived, and for once, I wasn't bound to it emotionally. The next day I met Tom at the diner. He slid into the booth opposite me, grinning. So, he began, leaning back, you heard from the traders yet? I did, I said simply. Ryan? He raised an eyebrow. I nodded. Drunk call. Slurred apologies. Asked if I remembered the old days. I hung up. Tom laughed, shaking his head. And you didn't, throw a punch, yell, or something? No, I said quietly. I didn't feel anything but closure. Closure, he echoed, incredulous. Man, I thought you'd be plotting revenge for months. I was ready to go full-on fury mode. I shrugged, sipping my coffee. I realized I don't need it. They destroyed themselves already. Life did the work. I don't have to touch it. Tom leaned back, laughing again. Guess karma didn't need your help after all. Apparently not, I replied. And somehow, saying it aloud felt lighter. The diner hummed with quiet conversation around us. Steam rose from our cups. I looked at Tom, at the normalcy of his grin, and realized I hadn't smiled like this in months. Feels weird, I admitted. Not feeling anger. Not feeling bitterness. Just empty of it. And free. That's a good thing, Ethan, Tom said, his voice softer now. You finally get to breathe without chains. I nodded. I've been running, chasing ghosts for too long, but they're gone now. The past, the pain, it doesn't own me anymore. Tom raised his cup. To freedom, then, clinked my cup gently. To freedom. Later that evening, I sat in my apartment, journal in hand. I wrote slowly, deliberately letting each word settle. They're gone. I'm gone from the weight of it. Ryan, Mia, their choices, their betrayals, their failures, none of it is mine anymore. I'm alive. I breathe. I move. I am free. I paused, staring at the ceiling. The memories lingered, yes, but they no longer cut. No longer consumed me. I don't need revenge. I don't need closure from them. Life is justice enough. And for the first time, I feel at peace. I closed the journal gently, setting it aside. The city hummed softly outside the window, indifferent, beautiful, alive. I breathed in deeply, feeling the calm seep into my chest. The pain that had defined me for months was gone, replaced by something new: strength, serenity, a quiet understanding. I wasn't the man who had cried alone in my apartment, who had sat numbly while betrayal consumed every corner of my mind. I was different, stronger, wiser, alive. That night I called Laura. You okay? She asked immediately, sensing the quiet shift in me. I am, I said simply. More than okay. I'm free. The past, it doesn't touch me anymore. I'm glad, she replied softly. You deserve that peace, Ethan. Truly. Thanks, I whispered. For listening. For being here. You always had it in you, she said. You just needed someone to remind you. And she was right. I hung up, leaning back in my chair. The city lights flickered against the walls. I smiled faintly, not triumphantly, not arrogantly, just peacefully. Life had delivered its own justice. I didn't have to lift a finger. And in that, I found a quiet satisfaction that no revenge could ever provide. For the first time in months, I slept without nightmares, and it felt perfect. Months passed, and I noticed a quiet shift inside me. I still worked nights at the factory, my hands calloused, my eyes tired, but something had changed. I no longer gave every penny I earned to sustain someone else's happiness. Now, I saved for my dreams. Another late night, Laura asked one evening, her coffee cup steaming between her hands as I sank into the booth beside her. Yeah, I said, stretching my shoulders. But this time, it's different. I'm not just surviving. She smiled softly. Not just surviving, living, I said, the word tasting strange and powerful on my tongue. I'm finally living for me. Classes, hobbies, small steps. Everything I ignored before, I'm catching up on now. Laura laughed lightly. Look at you, all grown and responsible. Right, I grinned. Responsible and slightly obsessed with learning again. Feels nice, actually. You're glowing, she said, eyes sincere. Not like you're hiding pain under smiles. This is real. Feels real, I admitted. Not perfect, but real. We sat together, talking late into the night about dreams, about mistakes, about everything we'd both been through. She never pushed, never judged, just listened. And for the first time in years, I could breathe. One evening, a thought struck me. I needed closure, not from revenge, not from anger, but from the place that had once been my home. The house that held every memory of laughter, love, and heartbreak. I drove there quietly. The street was empty. The familiar creak of the gate sounded different now, less a threshold, more a relic. The windows were bare, curtains gone, walls pale and hollow. The echoes of our past laughter seemed faint, almost unreal. Mrs. Collins, the neighbor who had watched us when I worked nights, came out to greet me. Her eyes were gentle, knowing. "Ethan," she whispered, "it's been a long journey, hasn't it?" "Too long," I admitted, "but I needed it. Every painful step." She nodded. "Sometimes we must burn to rise again." I didn't answer immediately. Her words settled into me, soft and insistent. I stepped forward, hand brushing the doorway. Empty walls surrounded me. Shadows of memories lingered, but held no power. I whispered softly, "Thank you for breaking me, because I wouldn't have rebuilt myself otherwise." I wandered through the rooms one last time. Dust floated in beams of late afternoon light. I ran my fingers along the countertop, the banister, the doorframe. Traces of us, not just memories. "I thought I'd hate this place forever," I muttered, speaking aloud though no one answered. But I don't. I feel gratitude, strangely. Boxes of old dishes and clothes were gone. The scent of our old life, the cheap dinners, the laughter, the arguments faded into nothing. The pain that had haunted me for months seemed to lift. I stepped outside, leaning against the doorway, breathing deeply. Laura's voice came into my mind, soft and steady. "You're alive. You re-free. You earned this peace." I smiled faintly, the wind tugging at my hair. The sun was dipping low, touching the tops of trees, glinting off rooftops. Shadows stretched long across the lawn, but they no longer reached me. I felt light, unbound. At home later, I opened my journal. It was nearly full. Entries of pain, sorrow, moments of weakness, and tiny victories. I picked up my pen carefully, letting my hand move almost automatically. She betrayed me. Yes, I wrote slowly, deliberately, but in losing her, I found the man I was meant to be. The words sat on the page, simple yet profound. I reread them, letting them sink in. For years I had defined myself by betrayal, by anger, by heartbreak, but now I define myself by survival, by growth. By the choices I made to reclaim my life. I wrote on, smaller, quieter. I am alive. I am free, and I am me. The pen hovered over the page. I smiled faintly. Not the small, fragile smile I once gave to try to mask my pain, but a real one, solid, grounded, reborn. The night outside my window was quiet. The city lights blinked gently, indifferent, alive. I closed my journal and leaned back in my chair. My apartment smelled faintly of coffee, of clean sheets, of a life I was slowly building for myself. I thought about Ryan, about Mia. Their paths would cross consequences, heartbreak or lessons, just as mine had. And I felt no anger, no desire for revenge. Life had delivered its own justice, and it was enough. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the horizon. I walked outside, stepping onto the street, the warmth of the sun brushing against my face. The old house was behind me, silent, empty. The shadows had faded, leaving only memory. I breathed deeply. For the first time in years, I didn't look back with longing, with rage, with sadness. I walked forward, steady, confident, alive. Here's to the future, I whispered to myself, letting the words carry away any last remnants of pain. Days passed, weeks followed. I continued my night shifts, but I also took classes, pursued hobbies, saved for dreams I had once ignored. Laura and I grew closer, not out of loneliness, but mutual understanding. She listened, shared, and never pushed. I learned to trust myself again. One evening, standing on my balcony with a cup of tea, I whispered, "I am no longer the man I was. Broken, betrayed, lost, that man is gone. This one, he's mine, whole, free." The sun rose again the next morning, bathing the streets in gold. I walked past the old house, letting it rest behind me. I didn't feel sadness, regret, or longing. I felt rebirth. I felt strength. I turned my face toward the sun, closed my eyes, and breathed. She betrayed me, yes. But in losing her, I found the man I was meant to be. I smiled quietly, journal in pocket, dreams in mind, freedom in heart. And I walked away into the rising sun, not broken anymore, but reborn.